This video is a real smorgasbord. We're going to start with some of the cool items that have come in the mail. The next item will be, I want to bring you up to speed on a friend of the channel who's had some real hard luck and the GoFundMe account that he set up. And third, I want to talk about the completion schedule on the spec house and what you can expect about an open house or an opportunity to visit and see that thing once it's done. First item, look at that. This is a mystery tool that comes to us from Ken Zandecki, who you will meet at the open house, who is a critical key part of the tile installation process in the bathrooms. He brought that thing that he found at a friend's grandfather's shop, and I have no idea whatsoever what that thing might be. Short handle, so it wasn't made to be used at heat. I don't think this is any kind of a blacksmithing implement. It doesn't show any signs of real abuse, a couple hammer blows here. It will sit there, completely patient and ready to do whatever you need it to do, but I have no idea. Oh, and it has a number 3 right there, a number 3, and it can be hung on a pegboard, and over here it says 05027 and some sort of a logo. I don't know, but I'd sure appreciate it if you would let us know. Next item, 2 books. The Boys in the Boat, 9 Americans in Their Epic Quest for Gold at the 1936 Berlin Olympics, and Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman. These came to me from Mark Curry. I met Mark Curry when he was 15 and I was 16, and we played Dixieland Jazz for 4 years together in the Jazz Minors, just as kids, including for President Carter at the White House. We'll talk about that some more someday, and we interviewed John Brand, who was also in that band a few months ago on our podcast. Thanks, Mark. I'm going to read these. So this next item is a pedal board for electric guitar players. And all 3 of my sons are electric guitar players. But this is nicely rendered. The mortises are perfect. It's nicely sanded. I don't know what the species is, but it's a nice woodworking project. And it comes to us from Brandon Craig of 1915 Woodworks. And at the end of this video, Nate went up, he's about 80 miles north of here. Nate went up and toured his shop, bought one of these things, and Brandon gave him this for us to give away. Now, before I talk about that, I want to tell you something else that Brandon did. He took it on himself to generate $5,000 in funds from the donation and the sale of woodworking projects that he did in his shop to benefit the victims of the fires, the catastrophic fires last summer in the Mackenzie River Valley, which is just 2 or 3 drainages north of here. So he's think of that. He just went out of his way to do what he does for the good of his neighbors. You got to salute that. Now, Brandon, we're going to give this away, but I'm going to exercise a little executive privilege here because I know exactly who it should go to. It's not family. It's not one of my guitar-playing sons. It's someone else who's had a tough year, who's a good guitar player, who practices a lot, and will know exactly how to use this thing when he's trying to make music and learn how to make even better music. Now, at the very end of this video, we have some footage of Brandon in his shop doing what he does, and he'll explain to you what Tik Tok is, if you don't know, like me. But you're going to get acquainted with the guy, you're going to see him in his element, and you're going to have a better appreciation for what this even means. Thanks, Brandon. So these little beauties are from Paul in Walnut Creek. He sent me a cool little chemist's vase a few months ago, but this time he wants to talk about safety. He's mounted magnets in the back of these little rubber hands, and he recommends that I put them on the tools in the shop that'll tear off your fingers or cut off your hand or do the things that you don't want to have happen to your hands, and I think it's a great idea because I've got 5 more grandkids that are going to be moving into my town sometime in the next 2 or 3 months, including 4 more grandsons. And there are tools in here that'll hurt you, so I'm going to stick these things on the tools that I want them to be careful of, and maybe it'll be a reminder. Okay, these items, these clothing items and these stickers have come from 3 different places. The first is from Michael, who has JW Underground, who says, and I appreciate so much, that I remind him of his grandfather, who's now 91, and who's having some memory issues. Memory issues are a heartbreak. So hang in there, Michael. Your grandpa still needs you. And I sure appreciate a 1/4 zip sweatshirt. Next, for my friend Justin Troxel, right here in Roseburg, he makes the coolest things. He kind of uses found objects for art and different, machinery pieces and lights, and he makes cool things out of cool things, and he's a cool guy, and I can't wait sometime to introduce you to my friend Justin. And then this last one is from David, who with some number of partners, I didn't quite get that straight, there's at least 2 of them, started last year in 2020, Yellow Weld. And if their welding and fabrication is anywhere near as elegant as their logo and their branding, they got a good product. So thank you guys, this is really nice. So on a much more serious note, everybody knows life is not fair. And a lot of us know that miracles do happen. So we have a letter here from Ruthie's grandfather. Ruthie has what is, to modern medicine, an uncurable bone marrow cancer. And all they're asking for is prayer. So for those of you, like ourselves, for whom prayer is a real deal, would you pray for Ruthie? Before we talk about the open house and the finishing up of the spec house, there's one much more serious thing that I just need to sort of let you know about. My wife has a good friend. She worked with Teresa Royston for 15 years as teacher's assistants. But Teresa has developed early onset Alzheimer's. That's grim. It's not grim in the same way that Ruthie's diagnosis of bone cancer is grim. But for somebody that's my age, this is hard. Her husband is Matt. Matt has been in construction all of his life. In fact, he made the corbels that we put up on our house. You probably have seen those corbels, and he did a fine job. But taking care of his bride has, for the last handful of years, really crippled his ability to go out and work and make a living. They've set up a GoFundMe account. The notes and the way to access that are in the notes to our video. If you're the kind of person who has means and is on the lookout for a real deal, a legitimate need that could be helped, the Roystons are it. As it happens, Matt is also the pastor of a very small country church. He concerns himself with the welfare of others, and this might be an opportunity for some of us to concern ourselves with the Roystons' welfare. Next item is the open house for the spec house, which is the question of when are we going to have that thing done? And if there's one thing that I've learned over the last couple of years, it's that when you're making a video series about building the house, you can forget about scheduling the work. It's just the way it's turned out. So that means my best guess on when we're going to be ready to have an open house on that thing is in August. But it's a guess. But I can tell you that we will give you some notice when we know, and 6 weeks lead time is probably about as good as we're going to get. I wish it was better, because it would be great if everyone could come. But 6 weeks, shooting for August sometime, is probably like, that's pretty much where the dart is hitting the dartboard right now. If you happen to be passing through Roseburg, drop me an email. Might be that we could line up some sort of a visit. But in general, stand by, keep your powder dry, and we'll let you know just as soon as we can. The last part of this video is Nate at 1915 Woodworks filming and talking to Brandon about what in the world Tik Tok is. So thank you for watching this slightly cluttered installment of Essential Craftsman, and keep up the good work.
How do you sum up TikTok for an audience of people who are primarily on YouTube? What's going on with TikTok?
Okay, so for me, I don't do anything funny on TikTok. TikTok is so underrated for the woodworking community because it's 1 minute, easy to digest videos. I can put together a 3 or 4 part series, takes you 4 minutes to see how to build something from start to finish. But also, it's really easy to engage. If you ask me a question, I can create a video response like YouTube used to do.
Yeah,
and so I can
remember
answer that directly, and it shows up on the screen. The engagement is so much better. The quality of the community is so much less toxic than some other places I've been on. And I can create a short video describing something in a fun way, but nothing I do is too serious, but also none of it's comical. Like, I take it seriously in the sense that when you watch a video from me, you're going to get one of two things. You're either going to see some wholesome content, teaching you and educating people about what sensory processing disorder is, or you're going to see a tutorial or just me doing something. But I take it a step further than what a lot of woodworkers on TikTok do. It's just time-lapse videos and no talking. I explain each step of the process, because if you're going to watch something for a minute, you might as well get something out of it. Yeah. And so if I can make, like the other day I made a cross, and I did a whole video series on how to make this cross. It was just one video, but it was start to finish, and you saw the whole thing. But instead of being a dance video or something, silly like that, you actually learned, oh, this is how you make a cross. And I took it and I showed you, like, it's approachable. It's a very easy woodworking project, but it comes out looking very pretty. When the fires hit, I was making a lot of pedal boards because that was my passion. Like, I'm a musician. They're a great project. It's a little more challenging than a cutting board, but I had everything set up to do this, and my parents live right next to Holiday Farm. So when they were fortunate enough to be spared, to me it was really important that we gave back to that community. And doing what I was doing and having the hardwood supply on hand that I had, I decided that I was going to make cutting boards. And cutting boards are a fairly simple project. It's pretty straightforward. So I was able to crank out a lot of them, and in turn, the 1915 pedal boards turned into 1915 woodworks, and now I just make a bunch of things out of wood. Cutting boards, toys, charcuterie boards, all sorts of stuff, with the main goal of donating a portion of all of our sales, because I believe if you have a gift, you should use it to give back.